So get this, y'all. A MAGA judge who was appointed by Trump just came down with a decision when it comes to deploying the National Guard in Portland. And this was brutal. I mean, this was vicious. It was as strong of a rebuke as you could possibly have. Basically, Trump's argument was laughed out of the courtroom. So look at this. It's from Kyle Cheney. Breaking: a federal judge has granted a restraining order blocking President Trump's call-up of the National Guard in Portland. So this is Judge Immigrant. That's her name, Judge Immigrant. And look at this. The judge found that Trump's statements were, quote, not conceived in good faith. The president's determination was simply untethered to the facts. So Trump was out there and Stephen Miller was out there saying, oh my God, bro, we have to deploy the military, bro. We have to deploy the National Guard because it's a war zone. It's out of control in Portland, bro. It's absolutely insane. What are we going to do? It's like Vietnam out there, bro. And then come to find out, and this is laid out in the decision too, you want to know how many protesters were in front of the ICE building when Trump was calling it a war zone? 20. Actually, to be exact, they said 20 or fewer. So it may have been fewer. It may have been like 17, 16, thereabouts. There were 20 protesters, and he said, we got to call in the National Guard. Now, of course, they're going to appeal it. It's going to maybe go to the Supreme Court. To this point, they've been nothing but a rubber stamp for anything and everything Trump wants to do. So this absolutely has the potential to be overturned. But this was a clear decision. Now, by the way, there was also, Trump tried to work his way around this by saying, okay, well, if you won't let me call in the Washington State National Guard if you won't let me call in the Oregon National Guard into Portland, well, I'm just going to send some National Guardsmen from Texas. And he listed some other states too. So he thought a workaround would be, all right, I'll just use different National Guards. And then the judge had an emergency hearing last night and said the exact same thing. No, you're in direct contravention of what my ruling was. If I said you can't do this, then you can't fucking do this. And any shitty fucking loopholes you might try are bullshit. All right, more. Kyle Cheney. Immigrant issued a stark warning that the efforts by Trump to make a bad faith justification to call up the Guard risked plunging the country into a form of unconstitutional military rule. But yes, Judge Immigrant, that's exactly what he wants to fucking do, though. That's the point, right? So she says, furthermore, this country has a longstanding and foundational tradition of resistance to government overreach, especially in the form of military intrusion into civil affairs. That tradition has deep roots in our history and found early expression, for example, in the constitutional provisions for civilian control of the military. And then she lists the cases. A standing military force with an overgrown executive will not long be safe companions to liberty. The means of defense against foreign danger have always been the instrument of tyranny at home. This historical tradition boils down to a simple proposition. This is a nation of constitutional law, not martial law. Defendants have made a range of arguments that, if accepted, risk blurring the line between civil and military federal power to the detriment of the nation. So again, super clear. Now, at the same time, this judge is laying down the facts and laying down the law and saying this is wildly illegal, don't do it. You have Stephen Miller, who's been going on a fascist tantrum hissy fit. So Ron Filipkowski says Miller has fascist hissy number 3 today after another court ruling, this one from a judge appointed by radical left Marxist Donald J. Trump. So ready? This was his response to the decision. Legal insurrection. The president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, not an Oregon judge. Portland and Oregon law enforcement, at the direction of local leaders, have refused to aid ICE officers facing relentless terrorist assault and threats to life. There are more local law enforcement officers in Oregon than there are guns and badges in the FBI nationwide. This is an organized terrorist attack on the federal government and its officers, and the deployment of troops is an absolute necessity to defend our personnel, our laws, our government, public order, and the republic itself. Now, again, all this grandiose fucking talk, right? Using this highfalutin language, this soaring rhetoric of it's an attack on the republic itself. Meanwhile, like I said, in the decision, it's pointed out there were literally only 20 protesters or fewer in front of the ICE building, and none of them were violent. And then now, with ICE going wild, and with the feds going wild, and going out there shooting fucking, gassing people, and fucking hiding their faces and assaulting them, now that's led to more protesters showing up. So you are creating the exact sort of instability that you're pretending to protect against. That's a super important point, right? Is like, your presence inflames tension. Just like any time Trump is supposed to try to take down the temperature and reduce tensions, he inflames tensions. And this guy's a little fucking twerp Nazi. I mean, there's video of him from when he was 17 years old saying that torture is a celebration of human dignity. Like, torture is great because it actually celebrates human dignity. This is who we're talking about here. The guy who was basically paraphrasing Goebbels at the Charlie Kirk Memorial. This is who we're talking about here. I got more from him, by the way. The issue before is now is very simple and clear. There is a large and growing movement of left-wing terrorism in this country. It is well organized and funded, and it is shielded by far-left Democrat judges, prosecutors, and attorneys general. The only remedy is to use legitimate state power to dismantle terrorism and terror networks. Do you understand what he's saying? He's saying any judge that disagrees with us, any prosecutor that disagrees with us, any attorney general that disagrees with us in the states, let's fucking persecute them. Let's oppress them. Let's launch bogus investigations and bogus cases in them and say they're part of a movement of left-wing terrorism. Do you understand just how much of a fascist Nazi creep this guy is? Do you understand that he wants a totalitarian system and he wants one-party rule and he wants permanent cultural victory? Do you understand he doesn't believe in small d democracy? Do you understand that? He's making it as clear as possible. You know, if you disagree with him, you're an enemy of the state. That's the idea. Now, by the way, this just came out in Rolling Stone, and this really explains it perfectly. Quote, "They need to suffer inside Trump's war on dissent. After Charlie Kirk's murder, Trump expanded his war on free speech, the left, and ordinary Americans. It's going to get worse." So, listen to this, because this part sent chills up my spine. In the earliest moments of Team Trump's rapid-fire drafting process in mid-September 2025, administration officials say names that kept coming up in the revenge-minded deliberations included Antifa, America's disparate anti-fascist movement, the liberal donation processor ActBlue, megadonor George Soros, the anti-Trump organizing group Indivisible, a variety of pro-immigration and know-your-rights organizations, and the anti-war group Code Pink, whose activists recently protested Trump at a restaurant. And of course, administration officials couldn't help themselves from brainstorming new ways to try to target the American trans community. So in the wake of the Charlie Kirk killing, these guys were like, oh, I got it. Let's mix the war on terror with criminalizing being left of center. So we're going to say, going after every liberal and every leftist and every liberal and leftist group that is protecting the country from terrorism. And they're doing this under the guise of, investigating for the Charlie Kirk murder. That's what's happening. So it's like the war on drugs or the war on terror, but now it's anybody who disagrees with MAGA. And now, even when a MAGA judge, a Trump judge goes, look, this is unconstitutional. You can't just say, oh my God, they have a hangnail in Memphis, so now we're going to send the military there to crack skulls. You can't do that, right? You can't just say, we don't like what's going on in Chicago, so we're going to send the National Guard or the military or both. You can't fucking do that. You can't do that. But this is what he's trying to do. And he's pushing the line more and more. And so it's about time that there were judges who not only drew a line, but drew a clear line, and then also kept up with the pace of the regime, right? Because that's how they get away with everything, is they do it, and then they, 3 months later, you get a court decision, and it's like, they did all the damage already, right? So it's like, you got to keep up with them. Well, this one is keeping up with them, and the fucking Supreme Court better not interject here and ruin everything, because what he's trying to do is make us a permanent fascist martial law police state. That's what he wants. And we need to do anything and everything but comply. We are not complying. Under no circumstance will we comply. And the fact that now even Republican judges are going, what the fuck is this? It reminds me of the Texas judge who said Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act was complete horseshit. And he made a similar argument. He was like, look, the facts of the case don't fucking add up. Like, you can't say, oh, we're going to go after alien enemies, but also, like, that includes whoever we want to be the alien enemies, right? Like, in theory, that would have to be in a wartime about the specific enemy of the war, and there is no wartime, and there is no specific enemy here. They're just using it to go after any immigrant they want to go after, and so the judge laughed it out of the courtroom. Similar thing here. Like, your arguments don't make sense. There is no national emergency because you just pretend there's national emergency. You are creating the national emergency. That's what's happening. So, unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. Absolutely terrifying. The judge is right. Let's hope it holds. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.